Arya Mahapatra. I am currently an 11th grader at Shivnata School, Noida, and I am a passionate designer and dancer. I am the design lead at Vaya News TV, and I'm really passionate about social issues like climate change, poverty, public policy, etc. So I joined Vaya News TV as a student intern for design, and I remember Asmita Di telling me that we want a student on the team to get a student's perspective, and we want to know how a 14-year-old thinks about the news. So I started off playing a role in that, telling them how a student would perceive this news piece in particular, and I started designing for social media, for our newsletters, and in the middle I sometimes tried writing. Then I eventually became the design lead. In the middle, for our first student internship program, summer internship program, I mentored a few kids for design, how to design for the newsletter, how to design for social media, and I think observing them has been the greatest experience as a student for me, because working with students is of my age especially can be a little bit intimidating for me, but otherwise, like, looking at their perspectives, how they respond to the news was a great, as in, it shifted my mindset a bit. I always wanted to stay in touch with the news. So I, like other schools too, I did not have a subject known as general knowledge in school, which usually touches upon, the news, what's going on in the world, but I didn't. And I struggled to navigate through the news. It seemed monotonous and very repetitive. Like, there's this problem, there's that problem. There were no solutions. And when I got into Vaya News TV, it changed my perspective altogether. Our newsletter is focused on solutions journalism, where we do not only present children with the problem, but also the solution, and how sometimes children, sometimes adults are working on solutions to change that problem. So I remember we did a newsletter on art for change, and we talked about students who have made a difference in the world through their art. So, for example, Vilac, they work on something called Counter Speech Fellowship, and students they advocate for social issues through their art on social media. We try and find change makers specifically for our newsletter who advocate for social issues they're passionate about. The vision for students is that we want to make them responsible consumers and innovative creators of a media for a better tomorrow. And we want to help them navigate through the news, because in this day and age, the information children consume from social media, because there's so much access to social media for children, the information they consume, it is as polluted as the air we breathe, if not much. And helping them navigate through those misleading facts, fake news, is what our aim is. I feel, we talk so much in our social science books. We talk so much about what is democracy, why is democracy, what are the problems with democracy. But when you read about what are problems of democracy, what are the drawbacks of democracy, you don't learn about how can you combat these, right? And even if you do, you don't see them in action. Our main focus is that when the student reads a problem, they start thinking about the solution instead of the problem itself. I mean, even if we do, we don't see them in action, and we want to inspire students to take that action they're reading about in their textbooks. In Vaya News TV, when we work together as a team, the experience is so enriching. Two of my mentors, Asmita Di and Sukriti Di, have really supported me through this journey, and I've seen how, I think, working with them has made me more responsible and it has made me more confident. Working with teachers is honestly not an easy job. I mean, it is easy when you get into it, but you're always scared of what would they think of me, will they judge me that I'm not smart enough. But in Vaya News TV, there's no judgment. You have an opinion, that opinion is valid. If you're like factually wrong, they'll correct you. But if it's like, I believe in this, it's your opinion, you stand where you stand. I think we made a friendly environment for them. It was not teacher and student. It was more of person and person. Like there was no hierarchy. So social media posts and newsletter designs. In terms of students, usually in internship programs, I mentor about we have writing, we have podcast, and we have design team. So I am usually the head of design team, and I walk them through the process of designing for a newsletter or for social media. Recently, I also conducted an interview for a journalist in the Rematch. Communication, a big challenge for me, but I feel I overcame that just because of my mentors. Talking to them and being able to be in that space where I can put forward my opinion made me more confident, and that helped me overcome my challenge of communication because I was more confident while putting my opinion forward, whether it be with my peers or my educators or even external when I'm working for other projects in school. And also one of the other challenges that I faced is, like I stated, working with students your age is sometimes difficult, but I learned that the way I overcome this challenge was, instead of working over them, I worked with them. So like, instead of acting as a design head, I was a design team member. In the next 3 to 5 years, we want to increase our subscriber base, obviously, and at least facilitate 100 student journalism outfits focused on solution journalism. And also, we are looking to partner with government bodies so that our impact is on a larger scale. Going to the government level is going to be much more impactful. Reason being, there are actually children who want to make an impact there. They look for an inspiration, they look for mentorship, and I think one of the key things is to make this program accessible. So making this program accessible, making Via Musically accessible for government schools at no cost is one of our aims in the next 3 to 5 years. I think one of the major values I operated with is lifelong learning, because everywhere I worked, every project I worked on had something else to offer, whether it be discussing some issue with students, whether it be telling somebody to design something. There's always something to gain from and build upon. What I learned and gained from this experience is, when I read something, I have to see it from a solutions perspective. I was very passionate about changing the world, and in the future also I see myself as helping people, but I didn't know how to help, right? So I think it inspired me to take action on the issues I'm reading about. For example, I remember we did a newsletter on climate change, and we were talking about plastic, and the next day I kind of searched up any NGO looking for plastic donation drive, volunteers and stuff. So I enrolled myself in that and started working there. I tried to collect plastic from each of the houses in my tower in the society, and then send them for recycling in the NGO. When we conducted interviews for the summer internship, I remember our one standard question is always, what do you think about the news? And not most of them, but every one of them said that we don't like the news, it's monotonous, it's repetitive, it is sad. And I remember thinking to myself, I hope their viewpoint changes like mine did. And by the end of the internship, I remember receiving feedbacks that their mindset had shifted. They looked at the news through a totally different perspective. So that's one change I noticed, and inspiring children to focus on the solution instead of the problem. I had a team member of mine in the summer internship program. She was very skeptical about her design skills, but she really wanted to pursue design in a way. And we were like, should we take her? And I remember Asmita saying that, take her, mentor her, and we'll see what happens from there. I was very skeptical because I have never mentored an individual student, right? I've always interacted with a group of students. You do this, you work on this. But while mentoring her, I learned so much about myself. What we read in textbooks should be what we see in reality. So I want to see the India that is reflected in my textbooks because I love humanities. I love political science. The reason I didn't take it is because I don't have any practical examples of the things I'm studying about. I learn about why is democracy important, why is secularism important, what are the drawbacks of democracy. I see a lot of examples for drawbacks of democracy, but I have never seen what are the advantages of a democracy, right? People are getting arrested because they are expressing their views on a political issue. Where's freedom of speech? You learn so much about rights and importance of expressing your views, but in reality, people are getting punished for the same. For me, education is applying what you learn in reality, in the real world. So you learn about problems, you apply skill set you have, whether it be writing, whether it be journalism, whether it be speaking, whether it be illustrating designs, whether it be dancing. We want to inspire students that you can advocate for an issue through your skill set. What will help is for students to critically think, critically analyze the problem, and taking an action on that through their skill set, like I mentioned, is one major role students can play reimagining India's education.